It's looking beautiful. Oh, coming out clean. Poke another spot, coming out clean. Coming out clean. We passed 3 spots in different parts. I'm gonna call this one cooked. Ahoy hoy friends, and welcome to Keystone Cooking. My name's Daniel. If you're looking for food that mostly follows our 3 Keystone values of being healthy, cheap, and easy, you're in the right place. Now, tired of unhealthy side dish recipes like cornbread that just make you feel guilty to enjoy them in the moment or leave you feeling pretty lousy afterwards? I've got the great recipe for you today. I'm going to show you a recipe that will take care of your waistline and taste buds without breaking your bank account. Now, I understand that healthy eating can feel really complicated, but don't worry, because all of my tips and tricks are really down-to-earth things that you can start doing today. They've helped me lose and keep off over 40 pounds, and I'm sure they can help you too. At the very end, I'll do a review of the food and go over what I'd change for next time, so stick around. Let's begin. What we've got today is a delicious jalapeno cornbread recipe. One of the things I like to do before cooking is to get all of my ingredients in one spot so that everything's right here when I need it. It really cuts down on prep time while cooking. Also makes sure that you don't get partway through a recipe and then realize you don't have something that you need. So what we're going to do is start by mincing up 1 onion, and the original recipe calls for it to be sauteed in butter. But we're going to be cooking in non-stick, so we don't need to add those extra calories to our recipe. We'll just go ahead and cut those out. One other tip I'd learned way back when, I always used to leave a little bit too much onion on, and then you'd get those slightly darker green spots that are just tough and chewy no matter how much you cook it. So what I was told was to always remove 1 more layer of the skin than you think you need, and that way you're safe. The thrifty side of me always cringes a little bit, even to this day, about throwing away what looks like mostly good onion. But when I sit down to eat, I always enjoy that there are no extra crunchy bits in there that I've got to choke down. So I'd recommend you do that too. Got a couple little bits of shell on my knife. Nobody wants that in their food. Alright, and now while we've got that starting to saute, we're going to get to work on putting together all of the egg and the rest of the batter. Should also mention we've got our oven preheating to 375, so don't forget that step too. We're going to take our 2 eggs. Orla, come! So egg whites are actually really good for dogs first, so I make sure to let our pup have a lick out of the inside of every eggshell before I compost them, and then I just wash my hands before getting back to cooking. It's a whole lot easier to whisk eggs when you remember to bring a whisk. Now, alongside our eggs, the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of cheese. We're just going to scale that back down to 1. It's a lot of extra calories and another 1/2 cup of cheese, and it's really not going to affect the flavor too much to have part of that cheese taken out, especially since we'll be able to sprinkle it with more at the very end when it's done cooking, and that's the cheese that you're going to taste the most. It also calls for 2 cups of sour cream. One easy tip with sour cream is to always substitute it with Greek yogurt. You can either go for the lower fat stuff or the whole fat. It tastes thick and creamy. It's lower in calories. If you go with the whole fat, it's not a whole lot lower, but it's a much higher protein content than you'll get with sour cream. And flavor-wise, very comparable. So you can substitute it for any baking that you're doing, or if you're going to put it on top of a baked potato or anything like that. I just always go to whole-fat sour cream or whole-fat Greek yogurt instead. Another thing I like to do is to try and pour my ingredients over the mixing bowl. That way if I get clumsy and spill anything, instead of going onto the countertop where I've got to clean it up, it goes right into the bowl where I'll get to eat it later. One more thing I strongly recommend is cleaning up as you go through so that you don't have a whole pile of dirty stuff on your countertop. You've got a relatively clean working space for things that you're all done with. So, like this measuring cup and the yogurt, I'm gonna go ahead and get all of those things out of the way.
Alright, our onions are getting pretty close, but we've got a bit more work to do on this egg mixture.
So the next thing we're going to be adding to our egg mixture is 1 can of sweet corn and 1 can of cream style corn. Depending on what kind of can opener you've got, you may want to rinse off the top of all your cans just to keep any dust from getting in them, or any gunk or grime that's built up if they've been in storage for a little bit. Or this kind cuts below the rim, so you don't have to worry about anything getting into the can. Plus it's got a cleaner edge in case, you're gonna let your dog lick it out afterwards. Hypothetically.
Alright, our onion looks delicious, so we're just going to go ahead and set it off of the hot burner so that there's less residual heat coming up to keep them cooking while we finish up what we're doing over here. Remember, we want to keep our workplace tidy as we go along, so we'll just go ahead and set those cans in the sink, whether you want the dog to lick them out when you're done, or just rinse them before you toss them in the recycling. Both are great choices. Next, we're going to be adding just one of our 2 jalapenos that we got. The other is going to be garnished on top. And then our box of corn muffin mix. It's a good thing to know, not just for preventing the spread of COVID when you're out in public, but also when you're cooking with jalapenos, to rinse your hands and not touch your eyes in between, because it's hot and you'll get burned. Not fun. Now finally it's time for our onion to get in here too. Next up, we're going to add just a hint of salt and pepper. So now it's telling us to transfer it into a greased baking dish. So we're just going to use a spritzer instead of rubbing olive oil on there to help cut down on the amount that we actually end up using. Alright, and now last step before it goes in the oven, we're going to top it with a little bit more cheese. It says to cook for 35 to 40 minutes, so we'll go ahead and set our timer for about 33, and then we'll be able to check on it, and hopefully it'll be a little underdone at that point, but we'll be able to come back every couple of minutes afterwards and get it right when it's ready. Alright, we took advantage of that little break to finish cleaning off our work area and rinse out our recyclables, get those put into the recycling, and now it's time to check in on our cornbread. Unfortunately, I goofed a little bit in the recipe and was supposed to have drained one of those cans of corn, so expecting it to be a little bit on the moist side still, not a problem. We'll just cook it a little bit longer than the recipe called for. Alright, well, we've definitely got some residue on our toothpick. That's not coming into focus at all, but trust me when I say it's there. So we're going to let this go for another little bit longer, just so we can make sure that it's fully cooked all the way through.
All right, our timer just went off for another 5 minutes, so up to 38 total minutes of cook time. Let's take a look and see what we got. All right, still just a little bit jiggly, but not nearly as much as before. Oh, that came out beautifully clean. What about over here? Pretty clean. Over here. Ah, that one's looking great as well. I think we're gonna give it just one more minute. There was that one damp spot still. We'll go ahead and turn it around and put it in and then take it out. All right, our timer went off one last time, putting us at the 39-minute cooking mark. We're gonna go ahead and give it another check. Whew, it's looking beautiful. Oh, coming out clean. Poke another spot, coming out clean. Coming out clean. We passed 3 spots in different parts. I'm gonna call this one cooked. Now, one of the hardest parts of any recipe, letting it wait for 5 minutes before we touch it again. I hate the waiting. All right, now it's had a few minutes to cool off, so we're gonna go ahead and take care of tip number 12, make it look good. So what we're gonna do is cut off a piece, set it onto this plate, garnish it up a little bit because any food you make can look Instagram worthy if you try hard enough. All right, now to make it really photo-worthy, we're gonna take a couple of our pieces of jalapeno, which eventually are gonna go over the whole thing, and put them on here nice and strategically to give it a little bit of color difference and some texture. We're also gonna sprinkle a little bit more cheese on, because that always looks good melting. And voila, we've got something that can go on the gram. All right, the moment of truth. We're gonna give it a quick review, going through all of our senses to see what we think of it before we dive in to eat. So, smell, what do you think?
It smells like cheese.
Yeah, I like the smell of the creamed corn coming through. That's most of what I smell. It smells like corn, cheese, which is honestly most of the ingredients.
It smells like a taco. Corn and cheese.
Okay, yeah, I'll take it. Colors, presentation, sight. It's a little yellow for my taste. Hints of green, but lots of yellow ingredients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Texture. It's soft and gooey, but not like falling apart.
It's not like cornbread texture at all.
One might almost call it a corn spoon bread.
We're using forks.
Want a spoon?
If it's a spoon bread.
I think it would eat with a fork.
Alright, fine.
Yeah. Alright, taste. I doubted the onions when I was cooking them. Thought they would provide nothing, but I really like the grilled onion flavor coming through.
It has a lot more of like a cornbread taste than I was expecting, just based on like the fact that it's a spoon bread and just smells like cheese.
Still has a box of cornbread mixed in though.
Yeah.
My bite with a jalapeno was much better than the bite without. I think if I were making this again, I would definitely use more jalapeno.
I would definitely talk with the mouthful. Avoid the jalapeno. No. Jalapeno's not my thing.
Okay, that's reasonable. I mean, wrong, but reasonable. The texture is solidified a lot, even though a little bit of time it had to rest. I was a little bit worried that it was a little too liquidy, but I mean, this is definitely solid.
I'm not going to say this, but I don't think I'd put cheese on top again. Like a little bit of extra cheese, yeah. Yeah, I
I'll
put
take this.
cheese on everything. But I don't know. I don't feel like it's adding that much.
Okay. It's hard to taste the cheese inside too, so I'd almost eliminate the cheese inside and only put it on top.
Yeah. Save a few calories that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not adding much to the flavor, I add calories.
Right on.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because I used a sharp cheddar?
Sharp cheddar's the best.
Okay.
Although, no. I'd say maybe a mild cheddar would blend in with the corn more, but then why? If it's just gonna blend in, why are you adding it?
Right. Also, the store didn't have any mild cheddar. They only had sharp cheddar.
There you go. Problem solved. We're definitely sharp cheddar.
So if you were to give this a scale, or a score, out of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
Okay, so 1 is like, I would never eat this again in my life if I were starving.
Even if I were paying you to eat it, you would avoid
And
it.
if you were paying me to eat it, I would avoid it. 10 is like, sign me up right now. I will go out of my way to get this. I will drive extra miles. I will do anything it takes to cook it.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you know.
I would have gone with it's really delicious.
Like, so like a 5 would be like, I'd eat it, but not happily.
No, a 5 would be I eat it but not excited about it.
Okay, so happily, but not enthusiastically. Okay. I'd say a 7. I would eat it again, but I like wouldn't go out of my way.
But you got it with some level of enthusiasm.
Oh yes, with some level of enthusiasm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have also given it a 7.
Okay. Yeah. It's good. It's absolutely good. I think I like traditional cornbread more.
Hold on, come. Like, you think she'll like it?
Yes.
Chunk without onion, because dogs shouldn't be eating onions. That look says she'd have some more.
Yeah.
So it gets 2 paws up from the dog.
2 paws way up.
Well, that's our corn spoon bread. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next episode.